Hey everyone, we have reached the 5th devlog of my indie game, which is a shoot 'em up that I'm coding in Swift using SpriteKit and GameplayKit. Since the last time, I've implemented an initial take on having different enemy types with their own unique logic, and I've further streamlined the handling of their movements. I'm still using placeholder graphics for everything, so no exciting visuals yet. Also, that led to that I'm really feeling the need for at least an initial form of a visual level editor. Adding enemies is getting chaotic and uncontrolled, both on screen and in the dataset that I'm currently using. I mean, chaos it is. So I'm going to have to address that. The level data structure I have now is set up so I easily can replace it with a JSON structure, which I then can generate for each level, where I define things like spawning points, movement patterns, and so on. Anyway, to get a feel for working with different kind of enemies, I've implemented a few new variations to try it out. First, I added a non-moving enemy type that represents what will become turrets later on. It still uses the same bullet logic as the original enemy type did. And then we have another added enemy type, which uses the animation component that I previously created. So I could verify that the component works as expected. The animation is just a sequence of frames I quickly made in Blender and rendered out, so I could have something to test this with. I also did a simple animation for the player's bullets to verify that the animation components works as expected for bullets too. Animated bullets will open up for many interesting possibilities as we move forward. Apart from adding enemy types, I also implemented some visual debugging helpers. There is now a debug section in the game's HUD where I can display relevant data while playing the game. That should be helpful to have. Currently, I'm tracking the number of entities in the entity component system that is currently active. On top of that, I also added a debug protocol for GK component, which components can implement to visually display debug information when I toggle it on, in a way that is relevant for that particular component. So, for instance, the movement component implements the debug protocol by displaying the movement as a path. The spawner displays the spawn trigger points, so as I keep adding features, new components can implement this protocol as needed. That's all for this time. Next I will approach making the initial take to have a level editor, so I can start getting some control of the enemy placement and end the current chaos we have in that area. I think I will approach it by making a separate target in Xcode, so I compile the level editor as its own application, but still sharing relevant code with the game. We'll see. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a blog at code.bitbob.com where I write more in-depth articles with code examples, so feel free to check that one out. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I am @Artstorm. See you next time.